Well, hey there team, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to Frostpunk. So, there's a Steam sale on, and I'm on a bit of an 11-bit studios kick. This won't be the last game we'll be covering, because I think they're a great studio, great indie studio, does lots of different things, and there's a few games in there that I've never actually played, so we might dip our toes. But anyway, Frostpunk is easily one of their best games. Frostpunk 2 is very highly anticipated, coming along in the pipeline. We've stopped and started and showcased this over the years, just because that's what we mostly do on the channel is overview. We're sort of dipping back into Let's Plays at the moment, so if you'll humour me, I'm going to start up some Frostpunk. I know we did have a look at it a couple of months ago, but that was under a different format, and I won't give you the inside baseball of the channel too much, but the long and short of it is, I'll put this into rotation, and if there is popular uptake and people are interested, then there's scope for us to play all the way through this. And there is a lot of game in this. We've got the main scenario, which is the new home, which I was just saying to my Discord, which you could join. God, I hope the link's in the description. It's somewhere. This might be one of the top 10 gaming sort of experiences you could ever have, is playing through the new home main story with the music and the emotional beats. It's a couple of hours long as a self-contained, high pressure. It just keeps ramping. As far as sort of like if you had a bell curve of how to narratively structure a bloody colony management game, this is the king. This is the template. Now these are all interesting and cool side quests. They're all really different. The Arcs is about protecting seeds and trying to create an automated city for the future that's going to outlive your dude. So they're sort of engineering scientists sacrificing themselves for the sake of actually having plants that could regrow after the frost. So that's kind of a cool angle. Refugees, you just get overwhelmed. Fall of Winterhome actually sort of prequel ties into this story because Winterhome is featured in the main story. Last Autumn is like a prequel of building the generators in the sort of, well, the last autumn, and it's totally flips the mechanics on its head. And then On the Edge is, I haven't played that in a long time, but I believe you have like a rail system, and you're sort of like an outpost colony that are sending back to the main colony. So they're all really different, really interesting, though the beef is the new home, which is what we'll be playing today. Interestingly, Endless Mode, which I usually roll my eyes at because I don't particularly care for sandbox stuff, is actually really wild. I haven't really played too much of it. I think Serenity is a bit of an easy mode, but the Endurance and Builders are actually radically different. Builders, you come along after an engine has overloaded and exploded and you're trying to rebuild it, whereas this is, I think, more before that. So they're almost sequential. And they've kind of got a story in them as well, even though it's called Endless Mode. You can click on them, you got a whole bunch of maps. Rifts is really interesting because you have this bridge system and limited play space, but you've got all sorts there as well. So what am I saying? I'm saying that there's bottomless content if you guys are interested. I mean, you can buy it yourself, but, chuck us a comment if you want me to turn this into a bit of a longer thing and chip away at it, and let's, put 200 episodes out. Anyway, so let's select a new scenario, and we're going to do a new home. Or you can cycle through the scenarios here. We're just going to play this one, because this is the best one. This is where the king's effort has gone into creating this game. But yeah, definitely, this is one of Scarlet's. It'll be one of my top 10 favourite games, sure. I mean, my top 10 seems to have a lot more than 10 games in it, but you know what I mean. It's almost a figure of speech at a certain point. I would highly recommend it. And then this intro I've seen about 10,000 times, and I don't care because it's so good.
Cold world, no horizon in sight. The rulers of old, stripped with pride.
Yeah, so the dot points is there's this winter coming. It's like a catastrophic winter, and we're set in an older time period. A sort of turn of the century, right? So we got this steampunk vibe, and they've built these super engines, and they're transporting them away from the city, and they will be like a source. It's just a heat engine. It's basically all it is, that you can live around and try and outlast the storm inside a crater. It's so cool, conceptually.
Our last traces of humanity.
And this music, man, The soundtrack is so good, all the ups and downs throughout the campaign.
We bid farewell to plenty. And for those who remained, came the time to adapt. We decided to leave our homes and head north.
Look at it.
We roamed for weeks, maybe months, leaving behind all the things we once believed had made us. It was hope.
I say it every time, but this reminds me so much of In the House and a Heartbeat from 28 Days Later.
Slowly, step by step, we knew the cost of our journey, and we paid the price 100 times. Finally, the time has come to build the last city on Earth.
Nice. So, it's sort of a blink and you miss it. I think, I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but these guys, the engine that we're at is not their engine. So we'll cover that as we go. We'll try and unpack the story because I think this narrative is just to die for. A New Home. We fled London. One final thought is I think it's really interesting that this is during the fall. We talk about after the fall as a video game tropey mechanic for storytelling in an empty environment that had interesting stuff for you to unpack. Think Bioshock, right? After the fall. It creates this really cool play space, but also creates an excuse for the developers to not have to put NPCs in there or humans that you have to interact with. But this is during it, and it was just fascinating watching, you got the London people. Some people want to go, some people don't. No one knows what the right answer is. It's during the apocalypse, and it's sort of like, what would you do? Would you stay in London and put your head between your knees and hope it all just works out? Or would you go with these guys that are choosing to step over the line and go, this is fucked, I see the end, and I'm going to act on it? Anyway, I find that really interesting because that question is not often posed. Anyway, we fled from London and crossed the sea to reach the frozen north. On the way, our convoy was hit by a blizzard and scattered. A handful of us managed to reach the site of this generator, only to find it frozen solid and abandoned. Why is no one here? Did any of our people survive the blizzard? Are there any others out there? Whatever we do, we should expect the worst now that the world as we know it has crumbled. Now we have to survive. I also saw, because I was playing a little bit of this yesterday, it's a big part of why I'm excited to come back to it. I saw in a tooltip that apparently developing the engines, that project brought the British Empire's economy pretty much to its knees as well. So it was a bit of an all-in. It's just a cool little bit of fluff. Okay, cool. We need to get the generator working. It provides heat and power to other buildings. Without it, we'll freeze to death. Stockpile some coal and start the generator. Okay, so I have a bit of a working theory from playing some of this last night until my eyes bled. There is I don't want to necessarily go into it too much, but the way that buildings lock into them, it sort of flexes, right? This building can be this small, but it could also be wider, just depending on what's in the ring. The game has this smart segmentation system, which can be more your enemy than your friend sometimes. Long and short, building very precisely is quite difficult. The game doesn't sort of lend itself to that. Anyway, we need to build houses. Everyone's homeless. Here's the generator. So what we're going to do is, these are all the spots that we can sort of grab gear from. Let's get a bunch of people on that coal pile, a bunch of people on this steel pile, and a bunch of people on this wood pile. So just like any sort of colony management, these are throwaway gimme resources to get the ball rolling. Something that I think I want to do is I want to get gathering posts, which are essentially, if you put them like that, they will gather everything that radius. Because if you click on these as a work site, you can see it's chilly. There's a whole temperature mechanic to this game in case you've never seen it before. A bit suck eggs if you're familiar yourself, right? Essentially, if you have pricks out here on their hands and knees in the snow pulling out crates, funnily enough, they get sick and die. So gathering posts is a good sort of answer. So we're going to queue up a gathering post there. I like the idea of keeping 10 people handy to build. So 15. There we go. Let's do that. Let's do that and we'll unpause. Look at all the little dudes. Off they go. Doo -doo -doo. Building out the roads for me, which is nice. Now, they will only build if they're idle during the work day. When it's after hours, they build as well. So if you want a building done during the workday, you need to free up workers. Alright, well, we'll just put those engineers in there. Something we want to do is get the Book of Laws going as soon as possible as well. This is not really a research tree, this is a time-based edict tree. And at the moment, we've got a couple of choices. I think emergency shift is the smart move. Sometimes we have to concentrate on the task at hand and at the cost of everything else or die. It essentially gives you the ability to say, no, you guys will work for 24 hours straight because, you know, apocalypse. We'll do that. Introducing this law is going to upset people because no one wants that law to exist. And you can see now we're on what is that, an 18-hour cooldown before we can pick another edict. I mentioned technology, and that's something that we actually should really try and get going straight away because that can be a huge bottleneck in this game. Let me see. Let me think about how I want to do districting in this. I am going to... It'll make sense shortly. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to put my workshop, just for the moment, we're going to put it there. You can turn it with middle mouse click. A lot of people don't know that. We'll do that. Again, we need workforce freed up. Yeah, you see like this, there's no established roads. And I'm not sure how the game works specifically, but it's like each individual dude, there's like a dice roll in the background. And if you keep them out here in the cold, in the snow, without any sort of heat sources, guess what? They're gonna get sick, and then they have to be dealt with. So there's some sort of random chance that you're trying to offset. In fact, let's turn the generator on, because we've got some coal. You can see it's sort of melting the area around here. And if you pull this up, you can see here, comfortable, prevents falling ill. Livable, very low risk, right? Chilly, low risk, cold, freezing, right? Very high risk of falling in, small risk of requiring an amputation. So if you can get everything in the hot red sort of zone, you're kind of laughing. You're kind of cooking with gas. And you can see the gathering post is livable. Anyway, let's do that. Cool. So we're going to free up some engineers because they're the only ones that can do research. We'll put them into this research workshop. And you can see we've got the tier 1 research, or tier 0 I suppose. This would be 1, wouldn't it? Beacon. Faster gathering is probably smart now. Right? Because we're doing so much gathering by hand. We also do need to build the houses, but we can wait on that for the moment, I think. I mean, I'm no expert. Let's set this up here. Yeah, let's do that. We'll get working on that. Alright. Free time. Everyone's going home. We've got 40 wood. It wants us to stockpile coal to tick over the mission, which isn't going to happen just yet. People and tent. So we're going to build as many tents as we can. And you can see when you pull that up, the heat ring, oh well, you can't see it now, but the generator has a level 1 sort of heat ring, which you can tech up. You can click on the thing here, you can see its steam level and its range settings as well. Right. No roof over our heads. Captain, people are understandably concerned about the lack of shelter. They're falling ill from sleeping outside in this terrible cold. We'd better do something about it. I'll provide some shelter. You have 2 days for 40 people. I'll provide shelter for everyone. Now, be careful you don't make bloody false promises. But you know what? Bugger it. Let's say it. I'll make shelter for everybody. The wisdom of the crowd. A word of advice, Captain. When facing demands, remember this. People usually look for the quickest solution and not the best one. You don't have to agree with everything that they ask for. If you fix the problem your way, then it's fine. Okay. So, what it's basically saying is you can say no, and often you should. Because the game is, like, as much as I praise it, this game is fucking miserable. It is dour and bleak and awful, but I would argue that's where the human spirit gets tested, is at that point. And it's so, you know, it's interesting. People from our convoy, family torn apart. Sir, a woman came forward after we built the workshop. She said that her husband and daughter didn't reach the city with the main group, but she's sure they're still out there. She wants to join the first scout team that we'll send out, and she urges you to hurry. We'll do what we can. At the moment, priority is to provide shelter for everyone. So, built the little houses, little roads with the steam tube going down. I think the art is incredible. So cool. And they're living in shitty little shacks, so that's probably not the warmest. Okay, cool. We've got another gathering post built, so let's do that. We'll probably want to free up some more workforce. 10. We don't have any wood. Now, interestingly, as soon as the work day ticks over, even if they're not physically on site, they will start harvesting. So there is still some sort of numbers in a spreadsheet in the background. You can see we've got our first sick person. Not gravely, but it's not great. And look, they're just getting sicker and sicker because they're lying literally on the street all huddled up. I'm sorry, team. I'm doing my best. Okay, we can introduce a new law. Something I think now, again, this is just my best guess. I'm going to go straight for extended shift. Building a city in this frozen hell requires sacrifice. People will get more done if they work longer shifts. Pretty self-explanatory. I can extend the shift time like this. However, that's going to bump my discontent daily as well. So I'm just going to force it as hard as I can, and we'll deal with that problem tomorrow. Resource shortage. We're getting short on resources. Our needs are great and growing by the hour. To address this, you can enact a law that allows extended working hours. I've already done that. This is the game just trying to hint you in the right direction. If I do this, it's going to say I've already signed it. Beat you to it, game. So, the wood income is starting. And what I'm probably going to do here is, not to get ahead of myself too much, I'm going to actually zone this area like that. Because I found it actually should work out fairly evenly if I do it into blocks of 2. Someone's depleted a pile already. There we go, let's just do that. 25 wood is going to be enough for the health clinic, which we'll put... You can see, actually, this is a great example of exactly what I was talking about. Look at it flexing to fit that hole, as opposed to if I were to put it there. It's like 1.5 times the size. For the moment, I don't mind, right? Because this is just how I want to lay my city out from the beginning. But still, it's one of those, you know, keep that in the back of your mind sort of scenarios. So we'll build that hospital. And how are we doing for shelter time? Because I really do want to get more gathering posts up. There we go, we've got the faster gathering research. What was that? Employ better tools and methods. People gathering resources from coal piles, wood crates, and steel wreckages will work 15% faster, whether using gathering posts or not. Okay, well that's good. That's good. Hunter's gear, not so helpful right now. These are important, but maybe not right now. The beacon, big priority. Steam hub heaters. I think the steam hub. We're going to get that. And essentially what that is it's like a creating suburbs of heat. It will connect to the main core and then create little hubs of heat, which we're going to need to deal with these because they're outside the heat ring. Okay, cool. We will need some more engineers. So engineers basically do the sort of the higher tier, I don't know what you want to call it, the more academic jobs, right? So they run the medical post. And these guys should now start transitioning into this state down here where they're being treated, right? The longer you leave them out here, the more likely they go to gravely ill, which is sort of no turning back without cutting bits off of them. Still says there's 10 dudes working on that. Okay, sure. How are we doing for workforce? Alright, let's staff that. How's our work day? It's getting along. I might actually queue up the tents now because I don't want to fail that promise. I'll get big discontent bonus. Well, deficit. That'll do there. Again, I'm just going to keep going hard in the paint for the gathering posts because I find that they're kind of important. Let's do that. We'll need 10 dudes free. They'll do perfectly. Wood crates depleted. Food. The generator hums with reassuring warmth, but we shouldn't take it for granted. If the generator goes down, the city dies, and be mindful of coal reserves. Now, food. There'll be no city if we starve to death. Secure a way to provide raw food and build a cookhouse to prepare meals. Okay, sure, we can do that. Wood crates depleted. That's fine. That was at one of the gathering spots. I think we're good for the moment. Yeah, free time. We'll get that built. We'll get all this built. Steam hub researched. Wonderful. We'll get heaters done as well. So individual buildings like this can have heaters. So, well, you won't be able to see it now, but they can get heaters. Well, that's interesting that that's still warm, even without the steam hub. I mean, the gathering posts are yellow. Even though I've researched the steam hub, I'm not going to go building any just yet. I don't think. How are we for wood? We're pretty good. I'm going to get another gathering post on the last set of resources over here. Right. And now let's turn our mind toward use your words, Scarlet, the food situation. Two. Yeah, I think it will work out this way. Now, I'm pretty sure the hunter's hut doesn't need heating. Shelter promise fulfilled. Look at that. Big hope boosts, big buffs. Alright, what's going on here? Now, we need to figure out what we're going to do with the children. And I'm tempted to just be an awful person. I don't really do child labour in these games very often, but bugger it. Let's do it. Child labour, safe jobs. There aren't enough hands to do all the work. We'll allow children to be employed in safe workplaces like cookhouses or hothouses. Right? Bugger it. Put them on the tools.
Hear me. New law
So now we've got a new workforce that was untapped previously. So we can't put them there or there. They're engineering only jobs. But they did say... Oh, there you go. Looks like we can put them in the gathering posts. Yeah, good. Let's get the kids out there learning some life skills, eh? Oh, goodness. Where do we have spare engineers? Here? Okay. We can free up some engineers, so that's good. Because what we could do is try and push the research bottleneck. I guess we don't need that road there. I don't really know. Let's do that. I need more wood. We do need to deal with the food situation, even just to push the story forward. Looks like people are freezing faster than they can be healed. What's that about, I wonder? They've all got their houses. The heat's good. Alright, heal you bastards. You can see here we're predicting a temperature drop as well. Okay, so cookhouse. Cookhouse is 3 deep, which is kind of infuriating. Doesn't really fit very well there, does it? Huh. I guess maybe I could squeeze it there. Let me see. Let's do this. Because I like the idea of cleaning out one of these segments, but that's sort of too deep. Oh, maybe I can fit a cookhouse and a hothouse next to each other in here. No. What? Hunter's hut, sorry. Oi! Okay, well that works out nice. I like that. Dude, what's going on with this one sick bloke? Sort it out. Alright, we got heaters, we got steam hubs. Beacon, coal thumper, resources. Let's do the beacon. Looks like there's no gatherable resources here, so we can deconstruct all of that. I feel like I might have to make another hospital just because this goober refuses to get better. And I'm not really keen on having someone bloody die already. Yeah, I guess I could turn the heaters on and go for red. Oh my god, come on people. Alright, there's our kitchen up and cooking. Here we go. People from our convoy. With basic resources secured for now, we can try to rescue the people that we left behind. Build a beacon, scout Frostland, and save as many survivors from our expedition as possible. You'll need a workshop to design plans for more advanced buildings. Oh mate, I'm already miles in front of you. Okay, there we go. We got hungry people, because you've got raw food needs to be converted into food ration. And The hunter's hut goes out at night time and gets you some raw food, and then this turns that into cooked food. It's a small production chain. Let me see. Alright, that's getting constructed. That's why it won't turn on. Looks like we're actually starting to get in front of the coal situation. Maybe? What are we going to do here? Child labour all jobs? Ooh, that's tempting. Let's go. That is one unhappy child. He cackled to himself. We need all available hands to work if we're to survive. We'll allow children to be employed wherever they can help, no matter the risk. Let's go. Bigus. Into the mines. You know what? This will make hard children, which is great. That's what we want. See, I'm going to cancel this construction because we're on top of the illness situation. Alright, so let's have a think. Where are we at? Like, broadly speaking, we're pretty good. Just across the board, everything's kind of under control. We've got our gathering posts, we've got our heating sort of going well. The temperature's about to drop. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to test us. We might have to slap up some steam hubs there. What we probably want to do is, well, I think getting a resource depot up just because of this is probably a smart move. I guess we could put it there. Just so we can, because we want to overproduce as much as possible. More coal, the better. And honestly, more workshops. More workshops. Because we've got engineers. And if we've got spare engineers, that's more research that we could be doing. You know what I mean? We're trying to mitigate as many bottlenecks as possible. Anyway, cool. It's good to be back playing this again. Again, like I said, it's on my mind. I had a huge bender playing it last night, and it just made me commit to the pivot. I like playing through games with you guys and showing you interesting stuff. You should pick it up yourself anyway, because it's a great game, but let me know if you want to see some more. Because if that's the case, then bugger it. We'll bang out some more episodes. Alright, team. Thanks again for joining me. I might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.